Episode 19, Lessons Learned from My Hospital Bed. Welcome to Reviving Your Soul, where Christians are finding the courage to embrace their faith in all aspects of their lives so they can stop being bored or overwhelmed and begin to live the life in fulfillment and in peace that God created them for. I'm your host, Vanna Johnson. Let's get started. Say what you will about healthcare in America, the equity of how people receive it, or how expensive it is, and chances are I'll agree with much of what you say. We all know there are problems and a lot needs to be fixed. But if you will, just for a short time here, I'd like you to set all of the political rhetoric aside and focus on the people who provide healthcare in America. While it's obvious I can't speak to every community, I can speak to a handful of people on one team right here in the middle of South Dakota that I was blessed to meet this week. I believe they represent their counterparts everywhere for the most part. You see, I spent 3 days and nights up close and personal with some of the finest people I've ever met in the hospital right here in Pierre. From the moment I walked through the emergency room entrance door until the moment I walked back to the parking lot 3 days later, I was treated with kindness and care from some of the most genuine people. Each one, from the person who stocked the supplies to the surgeon, no, I didn't have surgery, well, not yet anyway, acted like I was the most important person in their world that day, and they worked hard. Bells and chimes were constantly sounding, calling them to their next duty, all of which had to have been extremely stressful. If it was, not a one let on about it. To me, each one of them exemplified Mark 9:35, where Jesus said, "Anyone who wants to be first must take last place and the servant of everyone else." It's ironic because in a previous episode a couple of weeks ago, you may recall, I said, to the person lying in the hospital bed, a person who brings a cup of water or empties their bedpan could be the most important person in their lives some days. I went on to talk about how, as a caregiver, it's important to give your patient a kind word or an encouraging smile, and how meaningful that work really is. When I shared that, I had no idea I would have the opportunity to be on the receiving end of that kindness just 2 short weeks later. If I didn't know better, I'd swear every person there in the hospital this week had listened to my podcast and was taking my advice to heart. But I'm not that naive. It's clear that they all truly loved their work and wanted to serve in whatever way they could. I'd like to think that some of that was a result of my effort to encourage them in conversation and learn about them a little in the moments they were in my room. But probably not likely, and even if it was, I will never know. But what I do know is how extremely blessed I am. Yes, I just spent 3 days disconnected from my normal routine and in a lot of pain. But this is a taste of what I learned during that time. Neither the world nor I fell apart when I didn't spend hours a day on Facebook staying connected to everyone. I have some really amazing friends and family who care very much about me. I have a supportive community in my church who surrounded me with love and care during my time of healing. People will not go running and screaming in the other direction if they see me without my makeup, contrary to what I'd always believed. And times of uncertain health do not have to be times of worry and anxiousness. And although I have been focused almost exclusively on helping others become the best version of themselves in my coaching practice, sometimes that is not something that a lot of people are ready to consider. Because their pain is so great, all they can focus on is surviving the next moment. I have to be honest with you here. This last one has me thinking a lot. I've been thinking about the reason I embarked on this journey, which has become really a quest. I call it that because the destination hasn't been clear to me at all, and the path truly has looked more like a zipper, zigzagging back and forth, more so than a straight line from point A to point B. I began this journey this quest, because I wanted to truly help people gain their health. But then I kind of got muddled up in this idea that people would think I was just trying to sell them a product. So to make a distinction, I began identifying myself as a life enrichment coach to share how much richer our lives can be if we live in faith. And hence, this podcast, truly, Reviving Your Soul, is all about living in the Word and living in faith. But always, the foundation of it all has and always will be health, holistic health, where our mind, our body, and our spirit are all vibrant and healthy. Lately, I've been focusing a lot on our spiritual health, but I haven't talked a lot about physical health. Truly, though, if we are out of balance in any one area, we cannot function properly. So please bear with me as I branch out in future podcasts of Reviving Your Soul to be more inclusive of all aspects of having a life that really matters. But before I go there, I really must finish with the most important lesson that I learned in my little medical retreat. So to do so, I do need to take a step back first. You know how when you have a medical issue, we all go to Dr. Google for advice first, right? We all do. Or at least I think we all do. I do every time. And we know it's a bad idea because Dr. Google, let's face it, he can take us to some really scary places. But we do it anyway, don't we? Well, as my pain increased the other day, and hours after hours, the severity of the problem, the possible prognoses increased proportionately. What I found out about myself was that the worst case scenario didn't scare me. Honestly, the thought of dying didn't seem remotely possible, but the peace that I had with the possibility of that happening was so prevailing that I knew I'd be okay if that truly were the outcome. What troubled me about this whole episode was that I realized that I was more afraid to meet my accountant in January and tell him that my business had yet another financial loss than I was to meet my maker. What? How could that be? How messed up does someone who claims to have courageous faith have to be more afraid of admitting she isn't successful by the world standards than she is to die? It simply proves to me what I already knew. No matter how well we think we have things figured out, there's always room for improvement. We will always have something that we need to work on. I can see that my letting go of my need to prove myself still requires a lot of work, that my desire to fully trust God in all things has room to grow. I love that I don't have to be perfect to still do the work that I'm called to do. How about you? What area of your life do you need to work on? Do you need to stop striving for control all the time? Do you desire to have better relationships at home or at work? Maybe you are finally ready to take some action to get healthy. Or possibly it's time to start that class or side gig you've been meaning to do. Whatever it is, what's holding you back? Is it because you don't think you have enough time? You and you alone are in charge of how you spend your day. Do you think you don't have enough money? Contrary to what you may believe, you also have control over that. If it's fear, please remember that God put that desire in your heart for a reason. He will help you and He will protect you. There is absolutely nothing to fear. Getting back to my 3 days of lounging this week, I just want to say that I learned so much from the hardworking and extremely caring people I met. It was evident to me that each one gave their all during their grueling shifts each day. It is clear that, despite their personal sacrifices, they show up to help each of us in our times of greatest need. They are my heroes, and although it would be crazy to say that I'm looking forward to my return visit in a few months, I'm not dreading it. In fact, I really hope to see at least a few of those beautiful people again. So thank you to all the people out there who show up every day, despite the challenges in your own lives, to help others heal. You are truly a blessing to us all. Thank you for listening in today, too. I am always so humble that you take the time to hear what I have to say. If you are hurting today, get help. Life is too short to hurt in any way. We truly are meant to live amazing lives, but we can't if we aren't healthy or if we don't feel well. If you think I might be able to help you get on the right track, let's have a conversation. It's free, it's easy, and it truly could be the first step to changing your whole life. I often hear people say they don't want to bother me. I get that. I feel that way about trying to contact people too. But we are all here to help one another. Asking is the first step. If you are listening to this, and you are one of the many caregivers in the medical field I talk about today, know that you are a gift. I hope this lifts you up enough to carry on. If you know of someone that could benefit from hearing this message, please send it to them or share it on social media. It would mean so much to me, and it may mean a lot to them as well. So go, be well, help someone out, show someone how much you care. It will revive your soul. Live in courageous faith and have an amazing week. Thank you.